That's the real Jodie Kay. You're an idiot. You think you're something special because you phoned up a call-in show.
Hi, Kia. Thanks for having me on. Should white people also start playing identity politics now before they become a minority themselves by 2066?
Most people feel that where there's an injustice, it needs to be put right. There is racial inequality, there is injustice.
If anything, the racial inequality is now against the indigenous people of Britain, and we just have to look across to the Middle East. You know, Israel has a state law that they are the only people in that country to have self-determination. Well, why can't I, as a white British female, have that same right?
We all have those rights. Right.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are and wherever you're listening from. This is episode number 12 of Truth Hurts with me, your host, Jodie Kay. And I am beyond excited. I have the biggest smile on my face because I am joined by a very special guest who we've been meaning to speak for a while. Blackbird, who was doing the introduction, the little advert promo just now. He was planning to have the two of us on his show, I think I can't remember if it's last year. And here she is. So I'm pleased to be joined by Miss Monika Schaefer. So Monika, thank you so much for joining.
It is my delight. And yes, we were supposed to meet several times already and it just never worked out. And so then when I quite recently got introduced to you, and I actually listened to your number 1 and number 2 podcast in which you were introducing yourself, and I just immediately felt an affinity with you, Jodie. I think while we have different awakening stories, the details are different, but we have parallel, something that is quite similar in our natures and what motivates us. I think that would be a good way of putting it. I'm very much, when I received your email, and you said that, I thought, well, let's just get the conversation. So we haven't spoken before now. We haven't met. We haven't really had much connection beyond email. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. And I know most, if not all, Speak Free Radio listeners will know you because you were regular on Andrew Carrington Hitchcock and also with Blackbird 9, and you and your brother Alfred were on the marathon, the New Year marathon. Again, I couldn't make. So to my listeners that are fairly new to the station, Monika was imprisoned. Was it 2018? Correct.
For questioning a certain historical event. And along with your brother as well, were you in court with your brother Alfred as well?
Yes, we did face the Inquisition, as we like to call it, together. They put us on trial together. I had already spent some months in jail before that trial began because this was in Germany, right? And I am Canadian. I live in Canada. And so they did not want to let me out of their clutches once they had me in their clutches. So I spent 6 months in jail before anything began. And then there was a 4-month trial. And they kidnapped Alfred right out of his home at the end of the first week of that trial in July of 2018. And he stayed in jail for 4 full years. And he got out July 1st of this year. Now it's last year, 2022. We're already in 2023 now. Yeah. Got to get used to that. But anyway, so he's been out for 6 months now, and which is fantastic. I remember when that all began and we had our last, parting words when I was set free, and I put that in quotation marks, but into the giant open air prison that we all find ourselves in. But and then he was to stay in jail. It seemed like forever, and I wondered if I would ever get to have a conversation with him again where it's not slow motion through letters or that kind of thing. So yeah, I haven't seen him face to face, but we do talk lots and lots.
Oh, you've not yet seen him? Are you back in Canada?
I'm in Canada.
Right.
I live in Canada,
Right.
and Alfred lives in Germany. He's lived there for decades. I mean, we both grew up in Canada. Our parents came to Canada in the early 50s from Germany, so we are first generation Canadian. And then Alfred did kind of a reverse migration, and he went back as a young adult and ended up getting married there and getting a job there. And basically he just stayed he went back to the old country and stayed. So I think he's been there since the mid 80s, something like that.
So we are currently living in a time and a society where people can openly question the existence of God. People can openly question the existence of Jesus Christ, and not only question, but insult and blaspheme. And we can question certain narratives, but we live in a time where you can question the existence of God, but you can't question history.
Isn't it bizarre that even the notion to make laws that put historical events into law, if you really think about that, it is absolutely bizarre. Like something happened or it didn't, or something exists or it doesn't. Like I could lift a pair of glasses here and say, okay, this is a pair of glasses, or this is a chair, or this is a table. It exists or it doesn't. Are they going to make a law now saying that these things don't exist just because I say it exists? But that's the same ridiculousness of putting history into law. What we're allowed to think happened, and evidence, throw it out the window. It doesn't matter what evidence there is. You will believe this narrative, and if you don't, you will be persecuted and go to jail. It's bizarre, isn't it?
It's unfathomable. And I was born in 1984, so that year has always been a big year for me. But we're living 1984. I know people, can sometimes say that as a joke, but you will think what we tell you to think. And if I'm giving you 5 fingers, if I'm giving you 4 fingers, but I want you to say it's 5, you will tell me it's 5. You will. It's peak level. It's peak level insanity.
Absolutely. It's no exaggeration what you say. In fact, I think George Orwell is probably rolling in his grave.
So I did want to give you the introduction you deserve. As I say, my listeners may not have been familiar with you or your story, but I kind of wanted to plan a bit of a ladies' night because you're my first lady guest. You're my first female on, and so I've got some songs of mine queued up, but they're very different to what I've played before. But I just wanted to, one, thank you for reaching out to me. And like you said, we had a lot in common. So I'm curious to know what it was I've said that you related to.
We do. Yeah. Thank you for letting me address that, because first of all, if some of your listeners haven't listened to podcast number 1 and 2, I strongly encourage you to do so. That's Jodi's introduction to who she is. And that had me really gripped. I was listening to your every word. And I think it is because I could relate so closely, because you are motivated by love. And I feel that I am as well. Now, I have a sister who, she has told me, oh, I've lost my sister. I don't recognize you anymore, because she has not come along with Alfred and I on this journey of awakening. I'm sad to say that. But anyway, she has just said, I don't recognize my sister anymore. You're not who you were. And she believes I've gone down a really terrible path. Now, I said to her, and I say to other people, no, I'm still me. I'm still Monika Schaefer. I'm still motivated by care and love. Previously, I was very involved in the environmental movement and the peace movement. I was always, trying to do the right thing, make the world a better place. And then when I awoke to what was going on in the world, I realized that, wait a minute, who is steering events here, and we're being lied to on such a massive scale that I was putting my energies in the wrong way. And I know that you had an awakening story different from mine, but suddenly you were the bad person, and yet you were the same person. You're still Jodi Kay, but suddenly your friend is telling you no, because you're who you are, like you have this skin color, certain skin color that's not favorable these days. We are being discriminated against. There is a war on us, the white people. And suddenly you are still the same person, but somebody, I'm not remembering the details of what happened to you, but this woke you up. This was the beginning. So yeah, I would encourage people to listen to that. And what struck me is that what are our motivations? We're trying to do the right thing, but then suddenly we realize we're putting our energy in the wrong place. Like I was in the Green Party, Jody, and now I realize that the Green Party is actually, I kind of nickname it the watermelon party. Why? Because watermelons are green on the outside, but what color are they on the inside? If they're nice and ripe, they're red. Yeah. And they are the worst of all. And here I thought I was aligning myself with a party that reflected all my values. I want to protect nature. I want to, do the right thing and work for justice. And I don't know, I guess there's that word. I haven't really understood the connotations of that social justice warrior, but I think now I understand it. It's kind of, it's the people who are misled and misguided and working for equality and all that good stuff that they're trying to tell us. Yeah. So I just felt like I felt drawn to your story. I recognized myself in your story, even though our awakening, the details of our awakenings were different. For me, it was awakening to the fact that 9/11 was not what they told us. And that was after 9/11, well after 9/11. It was 2011, so 10 years later. But that started me down this rabbit hole of, researching and figuring out what has happened, and then figuring out that lying wasn't invented in 2001. And then the thing that you awoke on, the racial thing, is kind of the last, well, not the last, maybe the second last. The last thing that I awoke to was climate change. But see, I never would have thought anything about the racial question, but it came after all these other matters, and who's doing this to us and why. And then realizing, wow, they're actually trying to kill us. They hate us. Oh my goodness. They hate us very much. And yet we're called the haters, right? That I'm sure you've been called the hater.
I was thinking just today, it was just this morning. I was thinking I have grown up. Now, obviously, I've upset people growing up, and I've fallen out with friends, and you have childhood arguments, and I've fallen out with my parents when I was having a stroppy moment. But I've really always been so loving to everyone. That's my intention, loving to everyone. And if I couldn't bear the thought of someone misinterpreting me and thinking anything that wasn't coming from my heart. And one of my favorite songs growing up was I can't remember who sings it, but I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. And I remember playing that on the guitar in a very folk song, because don't let me be misunderstood, please. And so to be in this, I guess, kind of bubble of naivety, but love, to then be considered into one of the most hated groups on the earth, the white supremacist Nazis, and my friends have turned against me. I've had difficulties with family members. People I used to work with don't want anything to do. And it shocked me to my core. It shocked me in my cells, my body, my mind. I didn't know how to respond, because that's not, and I find it quite an ignorant place to come from. I have no hate in me. I never have. I have no hate, even less than no hate now that I'm finding the Christian path I am. But the fact that someone would turn my love into my love for my people and turn that into a hatred towards someone else, I find that very ignorant. It's really got nothing to do with anyone else apart from those that are inflicting this upon us. It is just a genuine love for my people. It doesn't mean I hate other people. And I said on my show on Tuesdays, I believe in all nations. I believe all nations have a right to self-determination in their own land. And
of course,
countries' flags should be flown in that country. And
yes.
I'm behind that. So how dare people turn my love into something hateful? That really threw me.
Yeah, see, I can totally relate to what you're saying. Every bit of it, like this thing of not wanting to be misunderstood. And I just, yeah, I would not want to be misunderstood. And I thought, well, if I just explain this, then they're going to understand and have the same realizations and understandings. And then this is all flipped on its head, and suddenly all this stuff is being bombarded at us who are actually telling the truth and fully knowing that we're telling the truth. And yet this gets twisted on its head. Oh my goodness. And I'm nodding vigorously at every word you say, but the audience can't see that.
And I'm the same. I'm saying, Monika and I are on camera, so we've got the beauty of being able to speak to each other, and we're seeing each other, and we're nodding along at the same things, and we're smiling. It's really beautiful to be sharing this space with you. So how did you handle when people kind of turned on you and saw you as a hater that you're not?
Yeah,
how was that for you?
If somebody had told me beforehand what would happen, I would never believe that I could handle it. I would have thought, well, no, I would just crumble. But do you know what? What I believe firmly, that the deep inner knowledge that you do have truth on your side is what gives you the strength, and you just know that at such a deep cellular level. So, and then of course there is a huge other component to this, and I would be completely remiss if I did not say this. I have a brother, a very remarkable brother, who has gone down this path with me 100%, and we have lifted each other up, we have supported each other, and so I have always felt that strength of he's kind of helping me to stay upright, and vice versa. I know that he wrote very, very touching things in letters to me that he couldn't have done that without me too. So that makes us kind of a team, and it's more than 1 + 1. We could say it's a multiplier effect. And so that is very good. But, at the core of it is the knowledge, and the fundamental knowledge that, no, we have truth and light and love. We are speaking truth, and we are motivated by love. And truth is like love and beauty and light. It's all encompassing, that it's symbolizes all those things. So even when I was in prison, I felt, after the initial stage, the initial part of it was, I'm not going to whitewash that, it was pretty difficult. But then once I let go of all those things and just accepted, okay, they've got the keys, but they don't have anything else. And they really, truly didn't. And I felt free as a bird. I really did. I felt free as a bird, and I felt very joyous. I was joyous, and I was having a good time.
Enough to bring tears to my eyes, really.
Yeah, I felt free as a bird, and I remember making the comparison and looking actually at the jail boss. I occasionally saw her, and I thought, oh, I am 1,000 times or maybe 1,000,000 times freer than her. She was like this zombie, like a robot, like a very, I would not want to be her. No way. Not for all the silver or gold in the world. Yeah.
And it must have been quite a, relief, is that the right word? Relief to have that freedom. I mean,
yes,
I guess the closest thing it's not even comparable or close, but the first time I actually felt free and the most alive was when I was caught in a fire when I was living abroad. There was a huge mountain fire, and I lost where I was living. I lost my home. I lost everything.
Oh,
but I was alive, and all I needed to do in that moment, it was just don't die, don't die. So my root essence was, all you have to do is live. And I have never felt more free and alive than when in that kind of earthy all you have to do now is live, and that's fine, because you just live. And it doesn't even compare to.
Oh no! Don't say that. Don't diminish what you just told us about. That is incredible. Actually, wow, that is incredible.
Because I normally went to sleep in the afternoons in my tent, because I was working, and they were big, like army tents, old army tents. And normally in the afternoon in Spain, you go and have your siesta. That one day I didn't. And it was the one day I took my passport in my bag.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, you have guardian angels.
Yeah. And I saved my guitar and my flute from the burning. So it was such an incredible moment. And
you see, even just that story, that tells us God. There is like that's bigger, right? If you normally did things differently, and that day you did it differently, like it can only. Yeah.
And so that's the closest thing I can get when you're, what you said, when you've been, they've got the keys, but they've got nothing else.
That's
how
right.
Incredible, how inspiring, and how precious.
Yeah. And when you say it frees you up, I'll tell you something else that freed me up a lot. And I realized very quickly that it doesn't matter what I say now, because they already have the predetermined outcome. And an example of that would be already in the bail hearing, which happened. There were several bail hearings before the trial even began. And they demonstrated that they already have the predetermined outcome. And this was just going through the motions of a bail hearing. And I thought, wow, that's great. It frees me up. I can say whatever I want, really, because it's not going to make any difference.
Wow.
And so it was with the trial as well. Like, they had their predetermined outcome. And that actually, they proved that to us by saying things like, when my lawyer had some objections to something that the judge just did, he says, oh, you can take it up in the appeal. Now, this was early in the trial. Well, if the judge is just flippantly talking about you can take that up in the appeal, that means he's got a predetermined outcome, doesn't it?
Of course.
Sort of reminds me of the 9/11, the dancing Israelis who went back to Israel, and they were asked, why were you there? And they said, to document the event. That means they knew about it beforehand.
And there was the World Trade Center 7.
Oh yeah.
Where the BBC reporters stood in front of it saying, oh, we've lost World Trade Center 7, and it's still behind her. So
exactly. They kind of got their script wrong a little bit, didn't they? The timing.
Did they? Or is that part of the magic trick? That they have to say what they're doing, and the cognitive dissonance because that would be too unreal for people, even though it's right in front of their eyes. But I can see World Trade Center, but the BBC just told me it's fallen down, but I can see it. Well, I have to listen to the BBC. The BBC, I think it was. Wow. I don't think it was an accident.
I have never thought of that before, Jody. I have never thought of it that way. I just assumed, well, they got their timing wrong on doing the report.
No, I mean, they may have done, but
no, you're probably right, because especially in today's context of how they are gaslighting us, like so gaslighting us that it's really in our faces now. So put that into context for all those years ago when that BBC reporter was saying it had come down and yet it's still standing. That's gaslighting. I mean, it's saying one thing and exactly the opposite is true. But yet I just thought all that time that, they just got it wrong. They just did that by accident. But you know what? You're right. You're probably right. Never thought of that before. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And just to go back to what you were saying about the truth, and obviously my show's called Truth Hurts, and I've done the HZ that came from my friend Von Hash because we're musicians. Truth has a frequency. It has a frequency, and when you find it, And the reason I asked how family were with you when you were going through this. I've had family in the beginning, before I started being a voice and a public voice. I had family say to me, if you do this and if you speak out, we will have to separate you from the family. And that broke me inside, but it broke me because I already knew what I had to do. It broke me that it's not an easy decision, but it was an easy decision because I have to follow the truth. I have to, and it does have a frequency. Luckily now, they're not fully on board. It's not 100% support, but it's more of an understanding. And once you see things you can't unsee, and it was a real, like, what do I do? But this, what we are faced with is so much, it's bigger than us. And the truth needs to be told. It wants to be told, and it needs to be told. So for these trying to put the shadow over the flame, one of my songs I was working with on Hash, the tiniest of sparks can illuminate even the strongest darkness. It's all it takes. The tiniest, if you're in pitch black, and now suddenly there's this tiny spark, it lights up. And that, to me, is kind of a symbolism of truth.
Yes.
And it breathes. And I love Lord of the Rings for many reasons, but it's like the ring wants to be found. The truth wants to be honored and told. And so whenever I do have that moment of, am I doing the wrong thing? Should I have done it differently? Could I have done it differently? It's like I have this, like you mentioned, guardian angel. It's like I have this knowing, well, it's true. So that is a protection in itself.
It is. Everything you say, it's just right on, and you articulate it so clearly. So clearly. Yeah.
Sometimes I worry I don't articulate things very well. I've got a very a natural way of just messing my words, getting certain phrases wrong and getting words jumbled up. So
I wix my words up all the time.
We're coming up to halfway, so we're going to just pause for a song. I've got two, and I'm just thinking which one to do now. I think I'll do this one. So this is Within. It's very soft, and the words came when my friends were kind of trying to tell me how to live my life, and you should be doing it this way. And so that's where this song came from. So I hope everyone enjoys. This is called Within.
Looking in from the outside is different than looking from the inside out. I know it may seem from where you stand that you know all that's right for me, but you'll never see the way I do. You'll never see through my eyes. That view belongs to me. I know where I am. I know where I'm going. It may seem like I don't know right now, but my answers lie within. Looking in from the outside is different than looking from the inside out. I know it may seem from where I stand that I know all that's right for you, but I'll never see the way you do. just see through your eyes that you belongs to you. You know where you are. You know where you're going. It may seem like you don't know right now, but your answers lie within. We know where we are. We know where we're going. It may seem like we don't know right now, because we're focused on the outside, passing blame to God and the human race is only leading us to where we've been before. Time again, we can ask ourselves how to make a change in this world. We don't need to look so far. We don't need to look so far. We don't need to look so far, because our answers lie within.
So that was Within. I haven't actually listened to that in so long, but
Jody,
nice to listen to it again.
That was so beautiful. It brought tears to my eyes. It's really, really beautiful. And I understand that your awakening is really quite recent. It's like a year, right?
2020.
Okay, so just a little bit more then, but still, like, this is just so. It's really beautiful to see this, like, such somebody who has woken up so recently and now is just flying with it. And your songs, your music, it's beautiful. I want to get me a CD. Are there CDs available, or is it just online, or do you have physical CDs? I like physical CDs.
I do have physical CDs.
You can tell the audience how to get them.
I do have CDs. You can get them from my website, www.jodijk.com. That particular song isn't on my debut album, but I've got at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 albums ready. They just need to be putting onto an album. And Blackbird received his CD very recently, so I'm pleased because that took a time. And I've just had a message from him, so he's listening. So thank you, Blackbird, for bringing Monika and I together. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to thank him too. And I want to tell you also, Jody, the title of your show is absolutely brilliant. The truth hurts, the HZ and the vibration, everything. It's just got multiple layers. It is brilliant. Congratulations on that. It's fantastic.
Thank you, because the saying is truth hurts, and it does hurt. It does hurt because it doesn't always hurt. Sometimes the truth is lovely, but it's
very liberating in the end. But in the beginning, it does hurt. I'll just, sorry to interrupt you, Jody, but I'll just say that when I first started on this journey of awakening, I had several weeks of nausea. Like, I didn't actually throw up, but I had this low level, constant nausea. I just felt nauseous. And that was with awakening to the lie of 9/11, which now seems like an easy one compared to all the others. But that was my first one. So I was coming to the realization that oh, our government is not our friend. Our government is lying to us about big things. These are big things. This is not just some little scandal. You know, you hear about scandal every day. It's just little stuff compared to something so major that changes the course of, you know, people going to war, fighting wars, and who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, and big, big things. And they're lying to us. That it was just coming to that realization that my whole world was going upside down. But actually, in retrospect, no, my world was righting itself up because we are living in an upside down world. And so I was going through this process of writing myself back up, but that's a difficult process. So the truth does hurt when you first encounter it, but then it is the most freeing, liberating, like the truth will set you free is so true, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And like you said, when you were first imprisoned, or I don't know if it was that part that was the very difficult, or when you were in the process, but then once you'd let go of things, it was the most liberating. I had that as part of my awakening, you know, realizing that everything I had been told in my whole entire life has been a lie. And so all these roots that I thought I'd planted that were roots, they weren't. It was literally everything was pulled up and I was unearthed. I was uprooted. I didn't know which way to turn. My axis turned. Then we had the COVID thing. So I had that to deal with on top of my awakening and my journey. And then I moved back to England, and it just sent me in a whirlwind. And I don't say that to put people off, because people say, see, that's why I can't do it. That's why I don't want to do it. Like you've just said, had someone said to me 10, 15 years ago, this is going to happen to you and people are going to think you're a racist, in inverted commas, I would have shriveled into myself and never come out the house. I thought, there's no way I can have people think things about me that aren't true, especially the most hated things. And I thought, no, there's no way. And the truth is on our side as well, because I remember the moment I actually broke through the seed. If you think of the seed and the first little shoot that comes out, and I was about to jump in the lion's den and tell a group of my friends who were in the healing world, very open, very true, but very light beings. And when I say light beings, I mean this new age light beings. I know there's truth in there because I've experienced it myself, but they want the light, not the truth. And I knew the moment that I was breaking through when I put into this group where we were all there, George Floyd's death isn't how we've been told.
Oh, yes.
And
how did they respond?
That was the start of my awakening, because my friend who was mixed race was in that group. And he then, but this is my people's liberation. This is my people's, we've been oppressed. And I was thinking, well, I haven't been oppressed. And he said, no, my people. And like, who are your people? I'm your people. And then I realized, and then after that, he said, well, you do realize the English are the most hated across the world. And I said, what do you mean? What? So it all started from that. And I remember speaking to my friends, and I said, God's asking me to do something, and I'm struggling to do it. Now, normally when I get the call or I get the push or I feel God kind of gently prodding me in the back, it's easy for me to go with. But this was really, and I said, God's asking me to do something, and I'm scared to do it. But I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to speak the truth, and that's what's led me here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's incredible. It's beautiful. Yeah, if I had the answer to why some people like we have been able to do this, just to follow this path that seems from the outside very difficult, but really I would never, not for one split second have I ever regretted any of it, not for one split second. And so, yes, it doesn't mean it's easy along the way, right? You know that very well, but yeah. It's so, what are the words? It's so true. It's so right. It's so, yeah, it is really the only path to follow, the path of truth. But then if I knew the answer to why are others not able to take that road, then we would have this problem solved overnight if we knew the answer to that, right? I mean, we've Alfred and I have talked about this so much, because his specialty, you could say, is like psychological warfare. You know, trying to figure out like what's going on here. This is psychological warfare. I mean, we've been in this war for quite a long time. Right now, the war is getting actually almost hot. And, you know, if you know what I'm saying, like hot as in, but people just haven't been realizing it, that we've been in this war for a long time, because it's not this conventional war with, you know, guns and trenches and bombs and stuff. Not in our part of the world anyway. But we're in a war. So their weapon, psychological warfare. Okay, so I guess the success of their weapon has been that people like you and me get called all kinds of nasty names, when the opposite is true. Like, we get called the haters when we're doing this motivated by love. I mean, it really is incredible. Everything is upside down, but it's becoming so much more obvious these days that actually maybe the speed with which they're rolling things out shows the panic that they are in, which is working in our favor. There is an incredible awakening going on now. The number of people who are waking up now, and then they are actually open to connecting dots. Like, then it's up to us to help connect the dots for people who are just starting to open their eyes. That's how I see my mission, you know, is to just help people along, and that connecting the dots. That
I mirror that fully. Good. Because we've done it. You were in the Green Party.
Yeah, that's right. So that's actually to my advantage, because nobody can hold that against me. No, it's my advantage because I came out of it. And actually, there's an awful lot of people in our movement, shall we call it, that started out very opposite, you know, either extreme left or whatever. I was, I suppose you could say, in the left without knowing I was in the left. Like, I just wanted to do what was right, and I was just misled as to what's going on, you know. So
I completely mirror that. It's the heart. It's the heart. The heart just wants to do right. The heart wants to do good. The heart wants to care and nurture and help. And I will help anyone at any time. I have always helped, as my mum said, the underdog, those less fortunate than me. Doesn't matter what race, background, creed, religion, doesn't matter. If I can be of help, I will. And then I woke up, wow, we need help now. It's us.
Exactly.
And I've never dreamed of it.
No.
And I think I see myself as a bit of a bridge for those that were always born conservatives, or those that were born racially aware. It's kind of like the Matrix, you know, those that were born without the plugs in their arms because they're born and bred. But the converts, those that wake up, well, that's me. I was one of those sleepyheads, but I can be a bridge from the world I was in, because I've been there. I used to think, I said this a long time ago. Lots of my friends, old friends, when I was living in England still at that time, most of them turned to Extinction Rebellion. And I know I would have been marching. I would have been tying myself to the roads. I would have been climbing up. I know I would have done that, because I would have thought this is how we change the world. And I know I would have been there. I would have been marching for BLM with the flags, and I would have done. Yeah.
You know, this Extinction Rebellion, are you talking about the movement where people sign a pledge not to have children?
No. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if there's a pledge, but the Extinction Rebellion in England, they are kind of climate Greenpeace warriors, and they sit in the middle of a motorway and the police don't move them on. So they have like traffic they build traffic up, and one guy climbed at the top of a bridge, so the bridge had to close down, and he stayed there for about 2 days. So I don't know, but maybe.
Okay,
maybe
but I have heard of this though, Jody. There are these movements, and it's young people at universities and whatnot. They are actually signing pledges to never have children, to save the planet. And I've heard about it, that it exists in the UK. I think probably it exists in Germany, I would think, because they really are, they're very, self-hating and think that, yes, we are bad and we need to stop ourselves. And I'm pretty sure this exists in quite a few white countries. It doesn't exist in African countries, or as far as I know, anywhere else really. But yeah, it's the ultimate, isn't it? Like that's what I thought you were talking about. But I want to refer back to something you said earlier, when you said it doesn't matter what color somebody is. We don't hate anybody, right? And so if you love your own child, does it mean you hate your neighbor's children? No, no such thing. Like it's just love your own people, and people have their lands. So if we don't want our lands to be flooded over with people from other lands, it doesn't mean we hate them. We would just rather that they go in their own lands, back to their own lands, and maybe they should build up their own lands and do good works in their own lands, because quite often these people who are invading our lands are young, working, strong men who really, what are they doing abandoning their people?
Yeah,
they should be the ones who are working to make their lands, better places and feed their families over there. And because I think the majority of the people who have come into our lands are of fighting age. Yeah, young men.
They are, certainly in England.
So this is one of those things that gets totally twisted around in the mainstream media. If we object in even just the tiniest way, if we object just a tiny bit to these open borders, then we're right away called racist, which is one of the most weaponized words. And as if we hate them. No, we don't hate them. We just don't want our country to be overrun, because then we don't have our country anymore. We don't have our culture anymore. And they don't either. They've just left theirs. What do we have? Just a mishmash of nothingness.
And this is something we could and should use with the open border groups that are wanting this to happen, and throw it back at them and say, well, how do you think their lands are going to cope with that? And we say, well, we're having the best of their people to become our doctors. We're having the best of their people to be our whatever they are. Well, shouldn't the best of their people be in their lands? And the best can help better everyone else. By bringing them over here is actually really insulting to that person's country and that person's people. We should be encouraging all people. And especially because we are in these lands, charity does begin at home. And a person died on the streets near to my hometown, where literally 5 minutes across the road, there's a massive hotel that's been taken over by migrants. And this native took his last breath in the street opposite on the side of the road. That's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. Those people should be in their countries looking up, like you've said, building their own countries, make your nation something to be proud of. Be proud of your nation. I never was. And when I woke up, I felt so much, I felt guilty that it had taken me so long to get to where I am, that my eyes are open. And when I saw like behind the curtain and everything I'd been blind to, I felt so guilty for my people. I said, gosh, I'm sorry it's taken me so long. I'm like, gosh, but now I'm here. I'm going to do everything I can from love.
Isn't it something how once we really understand the big picture, and there are so many of us, Jody, there's so many people that are that then becomes their life mission, because really nothing else counts. You know, for all those naysayers, it says, oh, you shouldn't talk about those things, you might lose your job, or you shouldn't talk about those things, you might lose your friends, or you might this and that. You know, none of those things will matter if we lose our very existence. Like,
True.
it's an existential, it's an existential question. Like, will we and our children and our grandchildren live in the future? Yes, we will. And those of us who understand that this is really where how important this is, it's about our existence, then yes, we do. This is our entire mission, our entire life's goal and mission is to get this right. Let's get this right. We have to get this right.
Yeah, because we're the last buck. We're the last stop.
Yes.
It's us, and it's now or it's never, and never isn't an option.
No.
And and I know that in my heart.
Yes.
And when people say, oh, it's too late, oh, we've come too far,
oh no,
it's absolutely not. It's never too late.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing not when you've
further.
Got this spirit in your heart, and the knowing, and the it's the spirit. It's the spirit of keeping our people alive. It's the survival.
To our last breath, it is never too late. And I'm telling you, I'll just tell you something else, that those who wish us harm and those who do not like us, they instill that message in us all the time via all kinds of means, whether it's in the movies or whether it's all kinds of narratives on the mainstream media. No hope, no future. They've done it generation after generation. Jody, when I was young, everybody was scared of nuclear annihilation. And, you know, they were putting out that the film duck and cover, get under your desk and this and that, you know, and everybody's kind of scared of that. And then over the years, the threat changes. Now the young kids are scared to death that, you know, we're killing the environment with this thing called carbon, which is actually the stuff of life. And so, you know, this Fridays for Future, FFF, that's a 666 right there. That's a little bit of a clue for people. Anyway, so they're always instilling us with fear. And fear, this comes right back to your hertz, the HZ, the frequency. Fear is about the lowest frequency. Like, if you feel the emotion of fear, you're at a very low frequency, and then you are at in danger of becoming very ill, really. Like, we stay healthier if we keep our frequency higher, I think. Isn't that correct?
100% correct, yes. Right.
So we have to shed our fear. Now, okay, somebody might be listening and saying, well, how do we do that? I guess, I mean, one way to shed your fear is be intentional about that and do something for, like, everybody can do something. So some people might say, oh, well, I can't really do that, what they're doing, but do something. Everybody can. You can use your imagination. There's lots of things that people can do, whether it's just to talk one-on-one with people, whether it's to go leafleting. Leafleting is really, really effective. Or just, I don't know, educate yourself. And by educating yourself, you can educate others. You can inspire others, sing songs, dance, live life joyfully. Live fully every day. And that's already winning the battle, because they want us to be glum. And, you know, what do they do first thing when this COVID stuff started? They said, stay home, stay inside, don't get fresh air.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And they said, don't sing.
They did.
Yeah. They said, don't sing together with each other. And yet singing together with each other is one of the most wonderful, beautiful, joyful things you could do. And there's more than just the immediate enjoyment of it. There's some kind of a frequency exchange. I don't know. I think you probably know a lot more about it than I do.
It's true. Group frequency. It's like there's the audible sound, but then there's the silent sound. So it's like, if you go to clap, you can make the clap sound, but then if you go to clap but you don't clap, it's the sound that doesn't come when you clap, and you create that when you sing as a group. It's this kind of potential. It's just this space that's just full of potential. So yeah, don't sing, don't go to church, don't hug your family, don't just be very afraid. And so, like you said, when people are afraid, your immune system weakens because you are filling yourself with fear. It actually damages your immune system.
Yeah.
So it's a very negative, very heavy vibration.
Yes.
And I love what you've just said. I constantly say to people, just do something. You can do. There's something in you that you can do. We've all been given a gift. Find it and do it, whether it's writing a poem, creating something, drawing, writing to someone that's in prison, and just let them know that you're with them, and you're still going to keep in touch with them, and bake a cake and give it to your neighbor. So you can do something. Everyone can do something.
Yes, I love that.
And the more you do, it's the endorphins in the brain. Doing good for yourself and other people is like selfish selflessness, because you feel good from doing good for other people. So be selfish to yourself and do something good.
That's great. And it goes around, this positive energy goes around, comes around. So I guess in the end, yes, it comes right back full circle to you. And every day that you do that you live with joy and, intentionally not letting yourself get pulled down by their fear messages, every day that you go against that, you are winning. We are winning.
Yes,
we as a people are winning. Yeah.
And what you were saying about the nuclear weapons or the nuclear war years ago, I was on a demonstration, well, not a demonstration, we were leafleting last Sunday, and the woman in front of me said that she didn't want to have children because she thought there was nuclear war coming.
Yeah. So okay.
Again,
perfect. I was just going to say this would be the other thing to go out and do if you're of the age that, you can get married and have children and have families. Don't ever let their doom and gloom messages prevent you from having children, because they've been doing this for years and years and years. And ultimately, if that's what's causing you to choose to not have children and not have a family, then don't you think that then that is just self-defeat? That is automatically that, okay, we've lost and we're giving up. No, we cannot do that. Please do not do that. Don't let those messages of doom and gloom make you, the listener, if you are in that age group where you can have children, don't let them make you make that choice. Go out and have families.
100%. Don't look at today's world and say, I can't give this world to my children, so I'm not having children. Help to change this world so that you have something beautiful. So I, as someone that was suckered into the, you can live the life you want. Why do you want to be burdened with children? Someone that was suckered in, don't do that. Have babies. Lots and lots of babies.
Yes.
Yay! We're soon coming up to the ending. I would love to have you on again. Please, please, please come on again. It's so lovely to see your face and talk with you. And thank you for sharing your story. Are there any closing words before the music comes in?
Well, this has been such a pleasure. I am so happy to meet you finally, after we've been trying to meet for a while. And I do look forward to coming back with you. And those last words about having babies, that's perfect parting message.
Isn't it? I always like a call to action. So this week's call to action, go and make some babies. Thank you, Monika.
Bye-bye. Well,